Alright, so I created a build quite a while ago called the Engineer. I did a video on it. You can go watch it right now in my 3 illuminate builds, and it was a really fun build. Basically what the build comprised of was using all the known elements in the game of arc, fire, and gas, and also bringing in some toys as well to deal heavy damage to the illuminate forces. So what I've come up with is a 2.0 version of this build that I feel like has taken this up to a whole new level and made it even better than it was before. And I was so excited to share this with you guys because this build has been not only a crap ton of fun, but has been one of the most effective builds I've ever created to fight the Illuminates. Anyways, guys, welcome to Engineer 2.0. Alright, so then we get to the damage section, we're going to talk about the arc thrower first. The arc thrower is our main source of arc damage and going to be one of our main sources of crowd control, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But the arc thrower deals 250 damage per shot at AP 7 with unlimited ammo, which means this can penetrate pretty much anything in the game with its anti-tank properties, and also it can shoot indefinitely with no cooldown, so you can keep charging this up and shooting this with no consequences, which is great. This also has the ability to over-penetrate targets and cause this chain arc effect, kind of similar to a chain lightning effect you've seen in other video games, and it is very powerful because it deals the same damage profile. It can chain up to like 5 or 6 enemies. It's quite a few enemies before it actually stops, which is really strong overall, and this can go off for an infinite amount of distance is what it feels like, because it has a very, very long range overall. On top of the chaining effect and the heavy armor penetration, this also has a heavy stagger, meaning that you're going to cause a mild stun effect to whatever enemy you're hitting, causing them to stand still and not move and you can do whatever you want, dealing other forms of damage or just flat out just killing them with the arc thrower very quickly, which is very nice. So what this means is that this is going to be one of our primary ways of dealing with the harvesters. Now, it's not going to kill the harvesters super fast. It will take quite a few shots, but the things this can do against the harvesters is stun lock it, so that way we can use other forms of damage to take out the harvesters. And also it's going to do a very good job of taking out the harvester shields. Oddly enough, it will take them out very quickly, and it can actually take out multiple harvester shields. And what I found is that if you have one harvester shield down and there's another one nearby, it's going to be stunned because of the chaining effect. It's going to go through the shield and actually stun the other one. So overall, the arc thrower is going to be very, very good for dealing with the harvester units. And it's going to perform how you would expect against the Voteless and the Overseers. You're going to hit them with this, and it's going to be able to chain to other ones and kill quite a few enemies at once. So essentially, this is going to one-shot all Voteless. It's going to 3 to 4 shot Overseers, and it's going to 2 to 3 shot Watchers. And again, like I mentioned multiple times now, it's going to be able to kill multiple at once. So in the right hands, the arc thrower is a very, very powerful tool, and it's a very good source of arc damage and also crowd control. Our next form of damage is going to be the machine gun sentry. This is by far one of my favorite sentries in the games for a wide variety of reasons. Not only is it a great source of damage because it deals over 200 damage per shot at medium penetration, but the cooldown is ridiculous at 76 seconds with all the ship upgrades, which means you're going to have this a lot. You can call it down, and it can deal a ton of damage to the enemies because not only is it very powerful overall, it has an incredible ammo economy because it's not going to waste ammo like something like the Gatling Sentry. So that's one of the main reasons why I love this thing so much. And then when you pair this with the arc thrower while you're stunning things with the arc thrower and slowly killing them, you can actually have the machine gun sentry down, dealing other significant damage, especially against something like a harvester or something like that. You could be stunning up the harvesters while your machine gun sentry is hitting it as well, and it will kill them a lot faster. This is the same thing for overseers or any other enemies. Because the machine gun sentry is so available so often, you can definitely be shooting things and stunning them up again while the machine gun does its work. So the machine gun sentry is like any other sentry. The best way to maximize the true potential of any sentry in this game is to put it in an elevated open area where possible. You can also put it at the end of street corners, meaning if you see a street and you want to throw it a little bit away, put it at the end of a street and it will do some good damage because it has good range overall. But the best places to put this thing is definitely in as many high elevated places as you can. So our last primary source of damage is going to be the Crisper, which is going to be our primary source of fire damage. So this is basically a pocket flamethrower. It deals 375 damage per second with heavy penetration, so technically it can deal with the harvesters. It will take quite a few magazines, but it will be able to kill a harvester, so you can use this to set them on fire and do some mild damage to them if you want to finish them off. But again, it's not really the best use case for the crisper, so we're going to be primarily using this for massive horde clear. So we're going to have a bunch of voltless chasing us. We're going to be able to shoot over our shoulder and just lay down a huge wall of fire onto the ground, because that's the best way to use flamethrower like weapons, is to spray the ground and cause huge walls of fire. This will eradicate many voltless, so it will do heavy damage to the overseers. You can just shoot them up with the arc thrower while they're on fire. It's a really good combo. And again, one of the things I like most about the crisper compared to the other flamethrower options is that it is one-handed, so you can be running and shooting this at the same time behind you, which is very nice. So that way you can close the gap and you have less likelihood of being burned as well. So overall, the crisper is just going to be an absolutely fantastic source of fire damage for us in this build. All right, so the primary thing that's going to be bringing this whole build together and making it truly amazing is going to be our support option, which is the hover pack. So this has completely leveled up this engineer build in so many ways. So you can float in the air for 6 seconds, which is a long time, and it has a short cooldown of 10 seconds when you actually land. So you're going to be able to use this a lot, and it's going to give you a huge advantage against the illuminate. So the main things you can do while you're in the air is you can move while you're in the air, which is pretty obvious. You can use consumables like stims or whatever. You can also use throwables if you want to throw grenades. You can also shoot your weapons and reload and other things. So you can pretty much do whatever you want while you're in the air, which is ridiculous. So things like the arc thrower and the crisper are going to be completely elevated to a new level by being in the air, because the arc thrower has way more chaining abilities while in the air, so you can shoot overseers and actually get a better range on the flying overseers, which is great. You're gonna be able to chain a bunch more enemies at once, because you can actually shoot past enemies and whatnot. Overall, the possibilities with the arc thrower are endless when you pair it with the hover pack. And this is the same thing with the crisper, because the crisper you can actually get that elevated burning damage advantage if you would like as well, so that way you don't have to do everything from the ground. So it's going to unlock that weapon as well. And then the best part about this whole thing is that we're going to be in the urban environments when we're facing the illuminate, so we're going to be able to get to those higher elevations that we normally couldn't. For example, we were doing the extract the civilians mission, and I just flew on top of the civilian building where they were going, and I was just using the arc thrower to randomly shoot enemies as they were coming up, and there was a massive chaining effect because the arc thrower can chain endlessly once it hits one target, which is crazy. So again, the possibilities with this hover pack are endless. Not only are you going to be hovering in the air using all your throwables and shooting enemies with your arc thrower and shooting them with your crisper from time to time, you're going to also be again getting in those higher elevated advantages, which is great. So the possibilities with the hover pack are absolutely endless, so that's why I love it so much. So our primary way of dealing with the shields, aka our shield disruptor for this build, is going to be the Dominator. Now I know there are some other options like some ARs and things like that, or whatever you want to use to deal with the shields, and that's fine. You can bring whatever you want, but I wanted to bring the Dominator because I felt like it fit this build a lot, and we don't need something crazy strong to deal with the shields and whatnot. So the thing about the Dominator that's great is that it deals 275 damage per shot with a mag size of 15, and it has medium penetration, which means it's going to do some great damage to those shields. Now, because it is an explosive weapon and has some explosive properties, it's not going to do full max damage, but the 275 damage per shot is plenty to take down the warp shields, which is what we're going to want. It's also very good at taking out the harvester shields, but we're going to have the arc thrower to be able to deal with the harvester shields a lot of times, so we don't need this as much. I just primarily need this to be able to take down those warp shields, so I can toss a grenade in there and make them go away, and that way we can deal with those. But if you want to use this against the enemies, it's going to be able to do things like 1 to 2 tap watchers. It's going to kill overseers in about 3 to 4 shots, and obviously it's going to one-shot voltless. So it's actually a very powerful tool, but the issue is that it is a very sluggish weapon, so you're not going to be able to use it so easily in terms of the flow of combat, because we're not going to be running something that's going to enhance that. So there is that. But if you line your shots up, it's actually a very deadly weapon when you want to use it against the enemies. And I would strongly advise not using it in the air, although it's fine. It's just not the best weapon overall to be using in the air, and we're going to primarily be using the crisper and the arc thrower on the air anyway. So overall, the Dominator is a great source of damage, and it's going to be great for taking out those warp ship shields, which is what we want it for. So our primary source of crowd control and our primary source of gas is going to be the gas grenade. So this is obviously one of the best grenades in the game. So what this does is it deals causistic damage, and it basically makes enemies lose control and become confused as they stand in the gas. So it's a great deterrent when you're dealing with a lot of voteless or overseers. They're just going to stand in place, take gas damage, go off to the left or right, and just basically ignore you. You can fly above them with the hover pack and just hit them with fire, or you can hit them with the arc thrower or whatever. So you can do whatever you want when they're gassed up, which is very nice. So our primary source of anti-tank is going to be the rocket sentry. And now there's not really anti-tank things on the map, but the harvesters, I guess, are the closest thing to it, which is what we're bringing this in for. So the rocket sentry deals 525 damage per shot with AP 5, and it's going to pack a punch against any of the illuminates on the battlefield. But again, I really want to use these for those harvesters. So I love the rocket sentry because it is extremely strong, has great ammo economy, and has incredible target acquisition, which means it's going to be able to target targets from a much longer range, and it is very good at prioritizing those targets, which means if it sees a harvester, it's typically going to attack that first, which is great. So what I like to do is I like to have the machine gun sentry nearby to protect the rocket sentry, so that way it can deal its maximum damage. So if I'm sitting here fighting a harvester, the machine gun sentry is going to be taking care of the cannon fodder, while the rocket sentry is helping me deal with the harvester, so that way it goes away the fastest. And again, the best combo right now is to be stun locking the harvesters with the arc thrower, and then having your 2 sentries do damage as well. It's going to make them go away super fast, which is great. Now again, I want to mention it one more time. Make sure you're protecting the rocket sentry either with the machine gun sentry or yourself, because if enemies get close to it, it won't shoot, which is very annoying. So you're going to have to definitely make sure you give this thing a lot of distance. I like to typically throw this further away, so if I'm at point A and my rocket sentry is right next to me, I'm going to throw it behind me quite a bit. I'm going to try to hover above it, so that way it has plenty of room to work, because again, I don't want it to get blocked up by enemies, so it stops shooting. So overall, if you place the rocket sentry well in elevated advantages, open areas, and you and you get in those positions to maximize its overall damage potential, it can do a ton of damage with a ton of rockets and absolutely destroy those harvesters. It's very good at that. All right, so our armor passive of choice is going to be the Acclimated armor passive. This gives us a flat 50% resistance to arc, fire, gas, and acid. So we're going to be dealing so many different variations of damage. It's nice to get that flat 50% reduction to all that damage, which is great. And it's going to be good for helping us with the illuminate lightning that gets shot at us, or the arc that gets shot at us from the towers, and the harvesters, and also the watchers. You can actually tank at least 1 tower hit, which is great. Unlike without it, you can't, so that's nice. But if you don't have this passive, because I know a lot of people don't still because they refuse to release it, I would suggest using either the engineering kit for more gas grenades, the med kit for more stims, or peak physique for better handling with your weapons, because it's actually very nice to be able to have better handling for the Dominator and also the arc thrower while you're in the air. So I would use one of those options. But if you have Acclimated, make sure you're using it, because it's going to be a very good option to give you maximum protection while using this build. Okay, so I wanted to give you a final rundown of the gameplay and how this build plays when you're actually in the field. So again, the idea is that you're going to be in the air as much as humanly possible. This hover pack is going to be what makes this build great. I really did enjoy running around or flying around the battlefield and getting up in higher elevations on top of buildings, using the arc thrower from up there and being able to chain a huge amount of enemies. I was getting a ton of kills when I was on the capture the flag mission. I was getting in elevated advantages that kept me nearby the flag, so it was still raising while I was just raining hell with the arc thrower, which is great. And I'll throw down the sentries nearby as well, because they can't really go up on the buildings and stuff like that, but you can put them in good elevated advantages from being able to see from above. So that was great as well. So again, the hover pack is going to be what makes this build so great, and I can't say it enough. Like, when you're in the air, you're shooting the arc thrower, you're shooting that crisper on the ground, you're throwing gas grenades. It is one of the most addicting feelings in the game, and it is overpowered like crazy against the illuminate. They barely touched me half the time because I was either in the air or far enough away, because I was running the light armor acclimated passive and able to get away. I was laying down walls of fire. I was shooting arc thrower shots from all over the place, whether on buildings and things like that. It was an addictively fun playstyle overall. And then again, as I mentioned before, the sentries are good pairing together, meaning when you have a rocket sentry down, you always want to have a machine gun sentry nearby to protect it. It works extremely well. The machine gun sentry will take on the random cannon fodder running around. The rocket sentry will be helping with them, including the overseers, and then if it sees a harvester, we'll start working on them. And then you could be flying nearby with your arc thrower to be able to hit the harvesters, take down their shield, and then ultimately stun lock them while your rocket sentry does the rest of the work. It was really easy, and it was one of my favorite things in the world to do. Overall, this build was a crap ton of fun with all the elements. I just love this style of play, using all 3 elements against the illuminates and just against the bugs too. If you want to use this build against the bugs, I think it actually works very well against the bugs if you want to give it a shot. But yeah, it's just a really fun build overall, and I had a blast. Alrighty, so that's my Engineer 2.0 build for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'm actually excited to create further renditions of this build because this is by far one of my favorite builds in the game right now to run between the fire, arc, and gas. So anyways, guys, let me know what you guys would change down in the comments below, and let me know what you guys think about this build overall in general, and let me know what you guys are doing with the hover pack as well, because I know people are creating some exciting builds with the hover pack as a whole. So anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.